Today, Baba is telling us that I give you the knowledge of sin and charity. And this word charity is a translation for the word punya. Now, punya is a very different word. It's not charity, but there is no English word corresponding to punya, so we just use the word charity. So Baba comes and gives us the knowledge of pap and punya. And when we hear these two words, then we usually think that Baba must be telling us, okay, doing this or thinking this or speaking this is pap, and then engaging in another set of actions is punya. But no, Baba gives us a very different answer. Baba says that when you forget me and you start insulting me, that is when you become a papatma. And when you recognize me and through me you get the knowledge of the drama, then you become a punyatma. So usually, we think that behavior is the problem. And we try to correct behaviors. We try to understand what's wrong in my doing. And we tend to ask this question, what should I change in my behavior? But Baba tells us the deeper secret of actions. And Baba says that behavior has its seed in consciousness. And if you don't know better, you can't do better. So when you know better, when you come to know me, you come to know the drama. When your awareness shifts according to this new knowledge, and when consequent upon the shift of your awareness, your attitude shifts, then your actions also shift. So, do you understand this important key? Because many a times people think that, behavioral change is enough. So you just tell somebody, do this, don't do that, and then things will happen or changes will happen. But Baba says, no, behavior is a very final stage. First, there has to be a shift in awareness. If there is no shift in awareness, then just do's and don'ts won't help with any kind of change. And that is why Baba says that when you forget me, and Baba uses a word, when you insult me. So what Baba means by insulting Baba is when we start saying Baba is omnipresent and Baba is like some element of nature and Baba is there in pebbles and stones, and we fail to acknowledge Baba as the ocean of purity, ocean of peace, ocean of love, the one who stays always in his supreme abode. So what do? We reduce Baba to somebody who is in pebbles and stones in this impure world, the stones that we are kicking all the time. So this is how we insult Baba. So Baba says that when you forget me and your buddhi yoga is, not with me anymore, and at that time, because you forget me, so you forget yourself. So because when you know me, that I am the ocean of knowledge, ocean of purity, then you know that you are my children and you are also the master oceans. And you know and another big difference that knowing Baba makes is when you know Baba as the Supreme Father, then you start understanding and realizing that we are brothers to each other. Yes, and only when we come to know Baba, then we understand that we live in the same home as the Father. We are all residents of the same home. We are brother souls. We are just playing different roles here, but our original relationship is fraternal. And you see, in this world, everybody is saying brothers and sisters. So whenever you address a gathering, people will, use this expression, brothers and sisters, but there is no brotherly feeling, there is no sisterly feeling. Why? Because until and unless you know the Father, so until and unless you have this deep, realization that I am the soul, I am the child of the Supreme Father, and the one in front of me is also the child of that same Father, then that fraternal love doesn't originate in the heart. And Baba says that because you forgot the Father, so you see all around the world, what is there? There is violence, there is, quarreling and fighting, and all of this starts to happen because you forget the Father. Because you forget the Father, impurity starts. You start forgetting that we are all part of the same family, sharing the same parents, and we are brothers and sisters to each other. So when we forget all of these things, then vices creep in. So Baba says that because it all started with you forgetting me, so until and unless you recognize me, and through me you recognize the drama, until and unless you get the spiritual knowledge. So Baba also today tells us that I give you spiritual knowledge. And Baba also always points out that in the world, nobody gives you spiritual knowledge because nobody is spiritual in the world. Everybody is very body conscious. Every person in the world is very body conscious because nobody remembers that I am a soul. Nobody remembers the Father. So, whatever they tell you is also coming from a place of body consciousness, and it makes you body conscious. So, a Hindu guru will make you a Hindu. They will not give you the realization that you are a soul, or there is universal fraternal love that you should have for every soul. Or somebody who is practicing Islam or preaching Islam will tell you that, the Muslims are superior and other religions are inferior. Or, somebody who's a Christian will tell you that, Christianity and Jesus are superior and others are inferior. So we are always teaching the knowledge of us and them. We are not teaching in the world there is no knowledge of the supreme soul or the soul, and there is no knowledge of fraternal love in the world. And you see, when we come to Baba, when we realize that this is Baba and everyone is Baba's child, then the first thing you learn is you cannot give sorrow to Baba's child. Because the principle is, can you please a parent by hurting his child? So if you cause any sorrow to any child of Baba, then you cannot say that I have love for that Baba, or you cannot say that I am deserving of that Baba's love, because Baba wouldn't like you to give sorrow to any of his children. And because we forget this, I remember when I came to Baba, it takes some time, it doesn't happen all of a sudden that you start understanding that I'm a soul and this is my Baba and everybody's a brother soul. But slowly, gradually, as you keep thinking about knowledge, then this thing enters. And then, after that, I really felt that I cannot even speak a rude word to anybody. I cannot even hurt anybody through my words, because everybody is Baba's child. And even if I have to correct, or even if I have to show somebody that this action needs correction, or something in you needs reform, then my form has to be loveful, because I cannot hurt Baba's child and say that I love Baba. So this is something that Baba teaches us, that until and unless you realize that you are a soul and I am your father, you recognize the recognize the father, that overcoming of vices cannot happen. Primarily lust and anger. Yes, so lust and anger are a direct offshoot of body consciousness. And when we become soul conscious, we overcome lust by understanding that, lust is something that I acquired in body consciousness, but I'm just a soul and my nature is purity. And I have a brotherly relationship with every soul. So I cannot perform criminal assault on anybody. And then anger also you overcome. So Baba says that these are the two big vices, and you cannot change from a sinful soul to a charitable or punyatma until and unless you recognize Baba. And then second thing is recognizing the drama. Yes, so you see, the drama is, so Baba gives us the knowledge of himself, Baba gives us the knowledge of the drama. And it is very interesting that although we receive the knowledge at once when we come to Baba, it takes a lot of time to really internalize the knowledge and shift our awareness. So we are all in that process. And Baba says that once you understand the knowledge of the drama, then your choices change and you start choosing remembrance of Baba. You start choosing purity, because according to the knowledge of the drama, you have finished your 84 births. And now it's your time to go back home and go to the new world. So when you get the knowledge of the drama, get it means you really understand it and imbibe it, then this knowledge of the drama will make you make pure choices. And you will have the temptation to win over vices, because you have conviction that you're going to go to the world of purity now. Let me tell you one thing about, the knowledge of the drama. So Baba, so before Baba, it is generally said that this world, or this, this drama is like a straight line, and you think that it has a beginning, middle, and end. But then Baba comes and opens our eyes and tells us that the drama is like a cycle. And then Baba tells us that, you see, children, everything is like a cycle. You look in the world, everything is moving in a cyclic pattern. And the most important cycle that you see is the cycle of birth and death. Yes, so in the world, people have recognized this cycle of birth and death. And what happens in this cycle of birth and death is that first you're born, you're a child, then you become a young person, then the body shifts, and then you become old, and then you have to leave that body, take another body. Yes, so have you seen that in Hindu religion, we are taught about the 4 ashrams? So, Balashram, Grihasthashram, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. So, because they recognized this cycle of birth and death, so what they taught you in Hindu religion was that once you're born, In Balashram, you study, you gather knowledge, you gather skills, and then in Grihasthashram, you expand, you make your family, you expand everything, you go into expansion mode. And then after you've crossed 60, then what do? You start again, pulling back. You start collecting yourself. Don't go into expansion mode. Just start understanding that now it's your time to retire, and that before you leave the body, you have to be in a state where there are no attachments to whatever you created in this life. And then you prepare for death, and then you listen to scriptures, you remember God, and then you get ready for a new life, a new body. And now that wisdom is lost, and now people, they do not even recognize this cycle. They do not prepare for death. So in this, although in the religion we have heard that you should recognize that there are 4 phases to your life, and then because you have 4 phases, so you honor every phase and do whatever is the right thing to do in that phase of life. And according to conventional wisdom, what we should do is we should start, just pulling our intellect from everything else and going back to scriptures and God, and at the end of our journey. Now you see that that was the wisdom some years ago. And people used to stick to that because they had recognized that there is a cycle and you can't change that cycle. So, so have you seen that even today, when you are in your 20s and 30s, then your body is very different. And then you enter your 40s and 50s, and the body changes very drastically. And then in your 60s, the body is very different. And then you have to, and also, your circumstances and the condition of your wealth and relationships and responsibilities, they are all changing according to the phases of the body. And anybody who is a little far-sighted plans like that. Yes, so if you waste your youth in just idling away your time, then you will have to work hard when your body is not supporting you. And that is not a good idea. And then, you should prepare for your retirement when you're not able to earn and, do things. But these days, this conventional wisdom is also not taking not being adhered to. And people are not recognizing this cycle of from birth to death also. And that is why these days people talk about comfort, and they talk about what I like and what I dislike in a very young age. But the interesting thing is, you cannot talk about these things when you have age on your side, physical strength on your side, your mind, your brain, everything is working well. At that time, talking about these things means how will you prepare yourself for the next phase? So this is the irony of the times we are living in, because we do not understand even this one simple cycle. Now Baba tells us about the unlimited cycle. Baba says, just like, there is a cycle from birth to the death, similarly, there is a cycle from the time you come from the soul world until you finish your 84 births. And Baba says, just like, different phases of the body, there are different phases of the soul also. So, just like the body goes through wear and tear, and it becomes old, the soul also goes through wear and tear because it comes into the cycle of the drama. And then again, the soul has to recharge before the next cycle. So Baba gives the knowledge of the drama and the journey of the soul in this 5,000 years time period. And Baba tells us in the first phase, the soul is in its purest state, in its most powerful state, and then that is called heaven. And there nobody attacks you because of the innate power that the soul has. And the nature is subservient to you, it takes care of you, and it's a world of purity, peace, happiness, and prosperity, because the soul is in its most satopradhan state, and that is why you attract everything from nature, and all the resources of nature serve you. And then Baba says that phase ends, just like youth ends. So that phase ends when the copper age begins. And Baba says, just like all the diseases start coming in after you reach a certain age of the body, similarly all the vices creep in. Ravan comes in, and when Ravan comes in, then what happens is Ravan starts eating away your spiritual power, because you come under the influence of lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed. And then Ravan makes you think that, Ravan makes you a bhagat. So the biggest attack that Ravan does to us is it makes us forget the Father, and then you start thinking you are ordinary and God is supreme, but you are not the child of God. You forget the relationship that you have with God already, although you say God is the supreme Father, but it never crosses your intellect that if He is the supreme Father and I am made in His image, then I must be having the same qualities as my Baba. So Ravan tells you that, God is free from lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, and God is very pure, but you are impure. And your basic nature is impurity. And then what we start doing is we start saying we worship God, but we do not have this realization that I am made in the image of God, or I am just like my Baba and I have the same qualities. And you think that your nature is vices and God's nature is purity. And this is how we begin our downfall, because when you say something is natural, then you don't gauge it, then you don't try to assess whether it's doing good to you or it's harming you or anything. You just say, I can't help it. You say lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, they are natural. I can't help it. And then once you say it's natural, you start saying that, it's not possible to win over it because it's part of your original design. But then this is how we keep falling. It is a choice, Baba. You see, getting into engaging in lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed is a choice. But when Ravan convinces you that this is part of your original design, then you give away your choice and you start, saying that I'm helpless and this is my nature and how can I overcome it? And then you keep making mistakes, and then you keep saying that I'm helpless and so I'm making mistakes. I cannot overcome it. Instead of saying I'm not making the effort to overcome it, you say I cannot overcome it. And it is very strange, you see, in the world, people talk about stress management, anger management. They never talk about stress elimination. They never talk about anger elimination. And lust, though, they can't even think about eliminating. And why? Because you think that eliminating it is not possible. Because Ravan convinces you that these are your original traits, or this is who you are and this is what you're made up of. And then we keep performing actions, whether it's actions of the mind, actions of words, or actions of thoughts. actions of physical acts, and we keep engaging in these acts of lust, acts of anger, acts of greed, acts of attachment, acts of ego, and we keep blaming our nature for it, and we keep creating this burden of sins. And then Baba comes and Baba tells us that, okay, now the night is over, now Kali Yuga is at its end, and now you have to again go back to that world of peace, world of purity. So do not think that my teachings are for this new old world. Yes, so Baba says that I'm not teaching you for the old world, I'm preparing you for the new world. And although sometimes you may think that, lust or anger or greed or anything is giving you instant success in the old world, but Baba tells us that now you have received the third eye, you understand that you are a soul, and this Kali Yuga phase is going to end very soon. And now you have to go back to the world where there is no vice. In the soul world also there is no vice. In the new world also there is no vice. There is no place for vice. So then Baba tells us that remember me, accumulate yoga power, and with this understanding that it is completely possible to 100% win over vices, because these vices are not your original nature. Once you start understanding this and making the effort to win over it with yoga power, you are able to do it. And then Baba says, when you win over Ravan, again the new world comes into being. So Baba says, this is your story, and until and unless you know Baba, you know the drama, until and unless your understanding is so deep about the fact that now you have to go back home, now you have to go to the new world, you cannot make effort to leave vices. And you see, in this world, when you make this effort to become pure, then people don't understand it, because this new education is for the new world. And sometimes when yesterday there was a brother and he had come, he's a Kumar and his mother is into Gyan. So he left drinking, and he used to drink and he used to party a lot. But then when his mother came into Gyan, he left drinking and he left partying. And then, it's been 3 years that he is on this path of purity. And then he told me, Didi, sometimes you feel that, I don't have many friends now. Earlier, I used to be surrounded by friends and I used to be the heart of the party. But now I don't have many friends, 1 or 2 left, and others don't even talk to me. So sometimes, you get this doubt also. Am I doing the right thing? Because, I'm suffering from loneliness, and I'm not having any friends anymore, no circle anymore. But then, but then even in those moments, there's something that tells you that, you have to do what you have to do for your future. And then I make this choice. So he says it's a struggle, because, in this old world, when you leave the vices, it looks very abnormal, because this is a vicious world. And Baba says, just like, peace and happiness are a far cry in this world. People don't have peace and happiness because peace and happiness come from purity. And until and unless there is purity, there cannot be peace and happiness. So in this world, sorrow is the order of the day and vices is the order of the day. And then Baba says, when you understand and have conviction about the knowledge of the drama, and when you understand that, yes, my Baba has come and I am a soul, and this 84 births is over, and now this cycle is going to repeat again. After Kali Yuga, there is going to be Satyug, and I have to prepare myself for that new world. Then you start making these choices of leaving the vices. And this choice is what changes this old world into a new world. So this is why Baba says, when you children start to donate vices, so Baba says in Hindi it is called De Daan Tu Chhute Grahan. So when you donate, then the bad omens disappear. But Baba says, when you donate what? So when you donate the vices, then the bad omens of this Kali Yuga will disappear. But for that, for becoming a Punya Atma, you have to have, Nishay or faith that my Baba has come, and you have to have faith in the knowledge of the drama. Because you see, sometimes people think, I have not seen Satyug, so how can I be convinced that Satyug will come? But you see death every day. But still, do you think you will die? Do you prepare for your death? No. So it's not about seeing something, it's about body consciousness. So just like, in earlier times when people were more in touch with their purity, so there was not too much body consciousness, then they prepared for death. They embraced Vanpras, they embraced sannyas, because they knew that I will leave this body and I have to go and take a new body, and I want to finish the karmic accounts before leaving the body. But nowadays they don't do that. You see people dying all the time, but still you think that, everybody will die and I will be roaming around all alone. But that is not how it's going to happen. So Baba says, similarly, just like you have to have a good intellect to foresee, what you have to do now for the future, similarly, you have to have a good intellect to understand the knowledge of the drama and prepare for the new world while living in this old world and old body by following Srimad. So this is what Baba is talking about today. And then Baba today, so there are many other points, but I think the time is over, so you revise them on your own. Okay, Om Shanti. Anybody wants to share anything, please do. Yes.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Today Baba tells us good contrast of Swarg and Earth. And Baba today tells about imbibing the virtues of Shitalta and Madhurta.
Yes.
And Baba also tells us today about the importance of three beliefs.
Yes.
And just this piece of knowledge brings much contentment to the soul, wisdom to the soul, and knowledge about time, drama, and our cycles we cross. And this much awareness can also do much wonders.
Yes, yes.
I think.
Yes, Baba says soul consciousness is the main thing. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Om Shanti. Yes, anybody else would like to share anything? Yes.
Om Shanti, Didi.
Om Shanti.
Today Baba says that you are in the land of sorrow, where you cannot find any true peace or happiness. So instead of looking for peace, you just need to stay beyond sorrow in this land.
Yes.
And the only thing you have to observe is that you just you don't fall into any more vices and any more account creation. And I just swiftly glide through this like when I'm traveling on the road and there's a path which is like full of
turbulence,
which is not a proper road. So my duty is like slowly and steadily I just pass that rough phase. So exactly this is what Baba says, that you have to just stay beyond this sorrow, because you cannot find any true peace over here.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Om Shanti.